Welcome to The Rounds, our roundtable events where we discuss emerging and disruptive technologies and trends. If you're a strategic business or technology leader and are building competitive advantage, you're in the right place. We regularly bring together top end user and vendor executives to share their perspectives and real-world expertise. Today's discussion focuses on the rationale for clouds and cloud-critical success factors. Joining us along with our host, Cal Braunstein, CEO and Executive Director of Research at Robert Francis Group, are Carlos Pereira, Distinguished Systems Engineer, Worldwide DC and Cloud at Cisco, Diogenes RETTORI, OpenShift Product Manager at Red Hat, Joe McKenna, former VP Distributed Hosting Architecture and Engineering at Fidelity Investments, and Jeff Schaefer, Senior Technical Staff Member, Chief Security Architect, Cloud Managed Services at IBM.
So all this leads to a new way to look at it in terms of a roadmap, right? How do we get from wherever we are today to where we want to be? You know, the steps, we talk about an initial step where you might set the pilot that you're doing with the specific workload and targeted team to go make something happen and prove your initial case. What are the next steps that people should do as they build their roadmap and think about building their long-term strategy to go to the cloud?
I guess the first thing people need to do, and I keep on my mantra, that you plan and execute properly. And on that initial plan, you need to do the policy definitions for all of this. And although people are going to look at me and say, this guy only have a word, no. As long as you define this, there's one thing that comes with that, which is agreement. An agreement or pre-agreement actually helps a lot on the journey. It's not a technology problem. Companies like ours and others will work together and make it happen. And in the end of the day, it's more towards how you evolve your business. And so the first thing is define what you do or what you want to do, as opposed to how you're going to do that. So by the time you understand better what you want to do on evolution of your own business, the how as a technology will evolve. At the same time, it's always going to be a hybrid environment. You're just not going to shoot down what's running today on your business, and you need to transition at speed. So that definition on what you want to do and those high-level business policies that flow to operational policies, consumption policies, in my view, is very key.
As we evolve this, does one need to start thinking about what your target architecture might be, where you'd want to go, rather than just say, all right, I'm going to plan this. There's a target in design. There's a way I want to do that, you know, just because I'm going to use some of my private cloud, and not all public clouds are equal. How do we make sure that as we build a roadmap, we know where we're going? We're not just saying, oh, this has been good, let's just add more.
There were multiple stacks that were built on the architecture, how the technology works since the mainframe times, and evolved to all that. This whole new approach with cloud native applications has built its own stack, on top of which you can put fully consumption, fully API, whole 100% portable, which gives the no lock-in to public clouds, and on top of which you can build new services like streaming analytics, predictive analytics, all that stuff. So the stack, the technology stack, has evolved, and a lot of people from a roadmap should look at, okay, how I can leverage and automate as much as possible, if not 100%, the environment that I have, so it can become consumable, so I can migrate for that particular stack as a roadmap.
People talking about cloud-ready, cloud-native apps, you know, 12-factor app. That's part of the roadmap, I think, that you really have to lay out to say that's what we want to aspire to. When we start to write this new app or redo this function of this particular, you know, application, let's write it, deliver it, and make it go that way. So now capacity doesn't become, you know, a big deal. You know, maintaining it doesn't become a big deal because I've modularized that and automated that. I can change and move you to a different cloud, refire one up, one died, one's not behaving. You know, the pets versus cattle. We babysit these things that we do today. We want to be able to, and some people will get all upset, shoot the cattle, move on to the next one, right? You know, we're done. We're not going to worry about it.
I think you touched on just barely touched on a really good point though, is as you're developing new apps, even if you're deploying them in private cloud, your developers should be tasked and have policies to develop them in a way that is portable and movable.
allows
Right?
for
And
it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The other piece too, I think that we've seen is, obviously the technologies have matured for security in cloud, so protecting your data in cloud environments has become easier. So that's definitely lowered the barriers to adoption as well. So you make it much more simple, regardless of where it is, it's protected in a similar way.
They would help create a success path for you, certainly. If you start, let's say, with the traditional low complexity, high impact applications, they're applications that help you build your success path towards the cloud move. One thing I'm personally, I always like to question is, what is more important for you? It's to introduce change that generates business value, or it's the risk of introducing the change? Because you may introduce a change and that change may break something, that change may make something harder. So it's a question that's very important, like what is more important to you? What are you willing to sacrifice?
You've got the two sides of the ops side and the development side. Development is going to say, I'm really planning and capacitizing how much I'm going to spend in resources. So if it's a public cloud, how much is it going to cost me? If it's a private cloud, well, I'm charging back and I'm doing this stuff, how much it's going to cost me. So they're going to tie it to their budgets, what they were going to do, and they have to predict their utilization to some level from the infrastructure side to do those things. So your capacity planning really is just to say, I've always got to have 25% available for burst or something along those lines.
And it's a live procedure that's always in place. So you have capacity planning always running, always ready to react to changes, to new workloads coming in and out, so you can have like a scheduling policy.
That's right.
Dynamic
That's what I'm
workload
trying to
movement
make.
placement.
It becomes a big data problem.
Thanks for watching, and please join us for our continued discussion on cloud computing on our next release. If you are interested in seeing more cloud-related content, have comments or questions for our guests, want input from us about the topics we discussed today, would like to participate as a guest on the rounds, or have anything else you want to share, you can do so using our social media as described in the accompanying graphic. And please, comment, rate, and subscribe. We'll see you next time on The Rounds.